Before you walk into a model home, you're going to want to watch this. We get asked this question quite often, and we just want to discuss it here on the show today. I guess it's not really a show, but we want to discuss this in our conversation today and break some of the myths and maybe some of the nuances that surround this topic of new builds and working with the lender, the builder, and what actually is a smart way to go about it. So, what are some of the questions that you get asked, and what are some of the things that these buyers should know when they go into a new home build?
Yeah, so it's a great question. Just yesterday, I got an email actually from someone who found us on YouTube and was wondering, and they were wondering if they're shopping for a new home and wondering if they should hire a real estate agent when they go to see model homes to like new home builds, because you'll see them a lot of times in the neighborhoods. They have the flags and the come see us. And when you go through their doors, you have to sign in and they'll have sales agents there, and you will sign. If you sign in and you don't have a real estate agent, then that's great for them because then they don't have to pay a real estate agent.
Yeah, but why
Um,
would they? I mean, they already have an agent there. Why would you even think about wanting your own?
sure. Well, so the employees
And
of the
even do
builder,
they need their own?
sure, the employees of the builder are the ones in the sales office, meaning they work for the builder. They don't work for the buyers. They're helping the buyers. They're helping answer questions and do paperwork and stuff like that. But they're really after the best interest of the builder. So I was telling these people yesterday about when they asked this question, I said, yes, you should hire your own real estate agent to represent you because um, you need somebody on your team, on your side, helping you in your best interest. And a lot of times the real estate agents, they have an understanding of how the new home builds work. They are probably better at negotiating than you are, right?
Well, that's their
Um,
job, right? I mean,
right,
they
it's
should
their
be good at
job.
negotiating because that's literally what they should be doing when they are representing you,
Yeah.
whether it's a new build or just an offer
Yeah.
on any home that you're
And
buying.
they
I
can
mean,
see opportunities. And I think like I've worked with some real estate agents that, the builders people are not just going to offer you everything, right? Because if you don't ask and they don't offer, then it saves the builder money. But your real estate agent's going to be like, "Hey, let's ask for this," or maybe I've heard of this. Let's just see if they'll do it. Because what's the worst? The builder's going to say no. Okay, well, at least we asked. But
no
if
harm.
yeah, but if you don't have representation, you're basically representing yourself in the transaction, and it's a pretty big purchase, I'm assuming, for most people. And so I do
Typically, your biggest financial
right,
decision
yeah.
that you're
Like your
making
biggest purchase
for
in
most people,
yeah.
maybe not all, but I would say the majority of us, it's our biggest financial decision that we make in our life part.
Yeah. So having somebody represent you, I think, is really important. So when you walk through that door, one, you've got to find a real estate agent that you trust, that you want to work with. And we definitely can connect you with those agents. We know agents nationwide. So we're happy to help you guys find an agent. And then when you walk through that front door and they want you to sign in, part of that sign in process is to put in your real estate agent's name. And if you don't do that, you don't get to use them. You can't like backpedal on it. Like once you've signed in and not identified you working with an agent, you can't come back and sign back in with an agent. So I don't really know how they monitor all of that and keep track of it. But once you've
That's
signed
kind of
in,
the unwritten rule, right? Like once you sign in, it's either you put down that you got a real estate agent or you don't, and that's kind of like the
right,
unwritten
you're
rule.
just
If you,
kind of
you're kind of
toast.
stuck with
Yeah,
with if you haven't set one up in that initial
right.
signing, then you're kind of stuck that way.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So you'll sign in, you'll put your agent's name in. And then if you decide you want to make an offer, then you talk to your agent who helps write up the purchase contract and make the offer. And you can make the offer to the new home build how you would make an offer to anybody. So I don't know. I think it's a good idea to have somebody represent
For
you.
sure.
Mhm.
But what is that going to cost me as this person going in looking at this new build? How much is it going to cost me to have an agent represent me to the building?
Right. So that's part of the conversation you have with your buyer's agent is how much is their fee? Now, they're going to take as part of their offer in asking for, like putting in the offer for the house. They're also going to ask the builder to pay their commission. And the builders all have different rules. Some builders pay a full amount of it. Some builders pay a portion of it or a flat fee. Some don't pay anything to a buyer's agent. So you don't even get to have representation unless, you have somebody that'll work for free or
Or
you
you
want
pay
to pay
you
them
could pay
because
them.
you could pay them. Yeah. And so just like in any purchase, let's just say you agree to pay the real estate agent 3%. And when they make the offer on the house, they ask the seller to pay them 3%. If the seller is only willing to pay 2% and you said you'll pay 3, then you have to come in with the difference.
What are some of the like benefits of having an agent be there to help represent you? So what is in it for me?
Sure. So the contracts are pretty long with real estate. They're not simple. Um, I think that the contracts for the builder houses are really long. I think they're longer than traditional contract. And part of that is because sometimes it takes time. There's occasionally you can find a new home build that's like already built and they're ready to sell it. But typically your contract is, it might be 9 months for your house to be built. And so there's process and procedure and when you need to come in to pick different things. And so the real estate agent, they understand the contracts. They understand what's in there and can help point out things that like maybe we should change this or let's ask them to pay for this or can they give you a credit here or talk to someone down the street, they got a free washer and dryer, like they just have a little bit more of that inside deal of it. And so I think that's one reason to have the agent for sure.
Yeah, and let's just be real. I mean, it's the builder's contract. So it's going to be written in favor of the builder, right?
Right. Yeah.
And to have
Because
a
they're
second set of eyes on that and see like what you were talking about, like what can we possibly do? What are there things in here that are negotiable that may or may not necessarily need to be in there?
yeah,
So it's just nice to have somebody that has another set of eyes that's in the business that kind of knows the language.
right.
You can read through it and say, maybe we want to make some adjustments here.
And they're familiar with timelines and pricing changes and things that maybe they're going to try to help push the contractor as well.
So the builder is going to have like a listed price, homes in the 500,000s or the 600,000s, whatever it might be. Is that the total cost of the house? Like, what
Uh,
else do I need to be aware
yeah,
of?
I mean, I think in some cases it is. I think have been some builders that I've worked with who are. This is just what it is. They've picked the cabinets, they've picked the flooring, they've picked all the upgrades, and this is the price of the house. And you don't get to choose something different. This is just how we're building it.
Is that
Um,
very typical?
I don't think it's very typical. I was kind of surprised when I had saw it. I mean, we've purchased a house like a new home build and we got to choose upgrades. So typically when you see those prices that these houses are in this range, it's their base price. So like, and not that their base is terrible. I mean, it's probably like decent, but if you wanted to upgrade the cabinets or the countertops or the floor or the carpet pad, I remember that was one for us one time. All of those things cost money. And like, can the real estate agent help you negotiate the cost of those? Yeah. Can they negotiate the seller or the new home build to pay for some of that stuff? Like sometimes the builders will come in and say, we have this much money we'll give to you. One, if you use their preferred lender, that's always one of the incentives. But two, they're trying to get the inventory moving. And so the agent can help you quantify like what's worth using that money on, So I think that's sometimes it's just helpful to have somebody that's like kind of that neutral third party. I mean, they of course want you to close it, but they're also not like emotionally invested in it to the point of like, let's just talk through, does it make sense to upgrade to this, like is this something you could do on your own for cheaper? Or like, yeah, this is really smart. Like, let's roll this into something.
Yeah, you
So,
mentioned a little bit ago about how sometimes construction, obviously, I mean, they're building the house. So that takes time to build a home. And depending on where you are in the process of buying that or putting in an offer, I mean, it could be just dirt, it could be fully constructed. So let's talk about, like, timing wise and how your agent can help during the building of the house. Like,
yeah, I think that they could come and help you at the meetings. They could catch errors that are happening or people dragging their feet. Also, I think they can be as involved as you want them to be. So, if you don't want them to show up to all the appointments to like pick your upgrades, like you don't have to have them do that. But those like big legal things, that the contract and the timelines and that, like all of that, I think that's a great reason to have an agent who, honestly, if the home builder is willing to pay them, why not? Like, it's not really costing you anything to have that person because the builder's going to pay them. So I just think, why not? So.
sure. So here's another thing. I mean, throughout that process of building a house, they're going to have inspections on the property. I mean, I'm sure that they're going to have to meet, the county guidelines and other inspections. Do you think that it's important to have an independent inspector come out when the property is actually finished and inspect the home? I mean,
Yeah.
they've had all these inspections, throughout the process of the home build.
Yeah, and like the people that are making sure that it's done right, like they're coming out, right? But I think that you do a walkthrough and you can point out things, but there's some things you just don't know that are maybe not right. And having your own inspector, it might cost you $500, but they are not working for the builder. They don't care about the builder's timeline or time crunches or how they've really got to cut something here to save some money here. Like they're so removed from that I think having your own representation, hopefully they come through and they're like, this is a great house. Everything looks good. Everything's done right. Everything's working. But it's good to just double check,
Yeah, and that's another good reason to have your own agent that can help you find, a good inspector to come out.
Yeah. Yeah, the agents will have the relationships with the inspectors and stuff. So it's good to have somebody independent for sure.
Yeah, no, I think that's extremely smart to have somebody come in and just check, because like you were saying, all those inspectors, for the most part, I mean, they have a relationship with the builder and they may not necessarily be working for the builder. I mean, the city inspectors isn't going to be working for the builder, but they're going to have their connections with people. And you just want to have somebody independently that has no relationship with the builder just come in and just verify that everything is as it should be.
Yeah, the builder will have their own inspector. Maybe they're not doing like the city things, but they're still going to have like quality control stuff. But
sure.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to have your own inspector go in and test it. We have to do an independent appraisal, so it's not like, the independent people are coming into this scenario. So the other thing I just wanted to cover really quick is that a lot of times part of the incentive with a new home build is if you use their preferred lender, they'll give you a discount or they'll help pay for closing costs, or there's all these things that they do. I think typically speaking, it's a good deal. What happens is they somehow roll that into the pricing. So it feels like you're being given a lot when really it's just being rolled in. So like, I'll give you an example. There's a borrower that I'm talking to that the house is like $1 million. What they've negotiated is it's $1,090,000 if he wants all of this money back to like pay for closing costs and upgrades and rate buy downs and all this stuff. Or if he doesn't want all that, they'll drop the price or $1,030,000. So like he's getting all this stuff, but it is being financed into his loan. It's like a roundabout way to finance some of this stuff. So, you just have to calculate, like for him at that price point, it was in his taxes was like $1,000 extra a year if he went with that higher price, but got all the credits and all of that stuff. So I just think it's like, I can help people with a new home build loan. Like we can stay on task for that. We can lock 60, 90 days ahead of time if you want, if it makes sense. It doesn't always usually make sense, but we can be the preferred lender. That's part of the negotiating that can happen in your contract is like you want to use your preferred lender and still negotiate some of these things that you want. So we've definitely been in situations where we've done that. And I will say, I, as the lender, have said, hey, why don't you ask for this? Like about like a 2-1 buy down for someone in particular. The agent was like, oh, I doubt it. And I was like,
I remember
oh
this.
no.
I remember this very well. Like the agent's like, they're never going to do that. And you're like, no, just ask.
Just ask. If they say no, they say no. And they totally did it. It was like amazing. So it's good to have also a lender who is outside of the situation for the builder, because the preferred lender isn't going to be like, hey builder, why don't you give them 30 grand in this? Like they want to maintain that relationship with the builder. So they're not going to find ways to get a better deal for the client either. So every time the builder will require you to get pre-approved with their in-house lender. It's smart. It lets them know that you actually are qualified. There are people that get pre-approved or pre-qualified at like a bank or something who never really does it and doesn't look at their information. So they have to protect their, what they're building and stuff like that. It's important to know that you will be required to get pre-approved through their person, but you can use whoever you want. You can negotiate that you use who you want, and you want the following things. So that is totally possible. And I'm happy to help with any of that. So
209-640-1710.
Yeah. So anyway, new home builds are great. Our first home was a new home build. It's kind of, and the one thing I will say about when you buy a new home build that you need to be really aware of is that the taxes are always, I shouldn't say always. The taxes most of the time are higher, the property taxes. And that's because they have these, what's called Mellorues. And so those are things that like help build the streets and the schools and the infrastructure around the community. And so I think that's really important. So if you've like been pre-approved for just a house, and maybe the lender has like pushed your pre-approval kind of to that edge limit, which is fine. I'm not saying anything is wrong with that. But then you look at a new home build and the taxes are an entire % higher than what you've been kind of anticipating. It makes your payment higher, which might kick you out of qualifying. So,
is that something they will know like in the process, or is that something they're going to get surprised with down the road?
You will know ahead of time what the tax rate is, and then you could talk to your lender and say, hey, the tax rate's 1.8. Can you run the numbers on that? Or like when the builder's lender pre-approves you, they should be using the accurate tax thing. All new home builds, they're not all the same in their tax rate. So it's not even in the same city. There might be a new home build. Tracy Hills might be a different tax rate than Ellis. And there's a 55 and up community that is right on Valpico. And anyway, it doesn't matter, but they don't have Melrose taxes. For whatever reason, I'm not sure. My guess is, honestly, is the builder has just financed that into the price of the house. So they just have that 1% tax rate. But another 55 up community in Manteca has a 2% tax rate. So it's different in every neighborhood, which is frustrating. I totally understand that. But so you just have to kind of weigh those pros and cons, like the higher property taxes. I think personally, so the last 2 houses we bought have been existing homes that we've had to come in and replace all the floors and paint and all of that fun stuff. And we've made it beautiful. It is not turnkey though. Like it wasn't, neither of the last 2 houses we bought were just move-in ready. So that takes work, but we also get to choose it. The landscaping is, you already know what's going on, like it's mature, which I think it makes the neighborhood beautiful. Notice if you're buying a new home build, what do the other yards look like? I think that's important. It seems silly, even especially if you're not into yard work. You're like, whatever. But a lot of the new home builds I've noticed, their whole front yards are just shrubs. Like it looks terrible. It looks okay when you first move in, and it's like,
but as those things grow,
as they get big and weedy and nobody's maintaining
grass?
I know. It's just like, even if you want kind of a zero-scaped yard, like there are solutions to that. And so it just is like I don't know. So like pay attention to what the whole neighborhood looks like. I think that's a big deal.
And you might want to look at, like, if you're not on the first phase, maybe you're down the road where there's been, multiple phases. Drive through some of the older phases and see what the landscaping looks like.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a huge deal. One investment strategy that sometimes you can catch and get lucky on is if you feel like this is a new up and coming place, if you can do a new home build in the first phase and you can sell it by the last phase, you'll get a lot of equity in that. Like, that's a good deal. And I've had some friends use that.
That's a pro tip right there.
That is a pro tip. I've had some friends use that strategy in Park City, Utah. And I think she made $1 million off of like having bought in the first phase and sold it in the last phase. And it was awesome for her. So
yeah, no, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So it's a good strategy, and you do have to, I think they moved into it for a year actually, but there's been some people like in Tracy Hills, they did that. It just kind of was the luck of it during COVID that things just popped up, but we definitely came across people who bought a new home build, and by the time it was done, it had gone up $100,000-$200,000. And instead of closing, like, they closed it and resold it really fast. So it was like a score them, so it doesn't happen all the time, but if you can get on the first phase of a great place, it's like it's such a good investment.
Yeah. Super, super smart. Good information right there, Liz. So I think the overall concept here is when you're looking at a new build, you want somebody to go in that can advocate for you and that's on your side, that can help support you and your needs and negotiate for you. And the way to do that is hiring an agent to represent you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like when we bought our house as a new home build, we didn't know, like we were in this industry, but not like just
brand new. I mean, I think maybe a year, maybe less than a year. I mean,
we didn't know. So, but having been in the industry now for 20 plus years and the experience and seeing how the real estate agent as your representative can really be impactful, I think it's a big deal.
Yeah. So if you need help finding a real estate agent, like Liz said, I mean, we've got contacts throughout the nation. So if you come across this video and you found it helpful, click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and we can help you find an agent that can help represent you on your new home build. So Thanks so much for watching. And if you have any questions or concerns and want to chat or need to get pre-approved for something, please reach out 209-640-1710. And thanks for watching. See you in the next video.